I think I might have solved the mystery to why Chixchulub happened to kill off only the non-avian type dinosaurs. This isn't a foolproof theory. There are still a couple holes, but in very simple terms. Start with just the electro-seismic effect, or what's also known as Freud physics. Basically, the Earth is piezoelectric. Mechanical vibrations of the Earth causes alternating currents. The wavelength of alternating mechanical vibrations across the Earth's surface dictates the alternating electric current wavelengths. And as I've explained in my other videos, why I believe that there was a megafauna extinction, I believe happened because of a similar effect of the waves going through the ground became too small, and the ground step voltage potential became too large that all of the animals that had a long enough gait got electrocuted. Now, in that light, when Chixchulub smashed into the planet,
Never seen it.
You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
I would have to believe there was a huge electric potential current that went resonating around the planet, back and forth. Just kept going around and around. That massive impact sent an electric current, and that electric current would go sloshing. Those currents also rectify back into mechanical vibrations and back into electric currents, and it's a teeter-totter. But if you've watched my polyrhythms video here, you could see that when you have one big impact perturbation, every wave pulse that's created, as the waves span outwards from the initial point, there's what's known as dispersion. Typically, the higher frequency waves can travel faster than the lower frequency waves, and as such, usually they start to lead the waves behind it. Well, these currents that could go around the Earth will be at such high voltage they would have almost no attenuation losses and resistance losses going through the Earth, because the current itself is so low, but the potential is so high. That's where the energy is. You can still have, because power is voltage times current, so if you step up the voltage to hundreds of millions of volts, you can have 0.1 amps, and you're still pushing millions of watts. In effect, as those waves kept going around the Earth, keep going, you just get this natural sloshing. But every so often, those waves start to add up on top of each other. They start to become sawtooth waveforms or square waveforms, or each of the different types of waveforms actually arise as this polyrhythm goes through its full cycle. Interestingly enough, Chixchulub literally stands for the devil's tail. If you've watched my other videos about how I believe the ancients used animism, what would a better way to represent a wave? If you use animalism or animism in all your artwork, what a better way to make a picture or depiction of a wave that's a particle, but it's alive, but it's still a wave. The snake, it's just literally slithering, or even a fish, or anything that wiggles is honestly a really great way to use animism to depict a waving or a oscillating or a wave-like particle duality, which... what a surprise. All these things talk about having a dual existence or the duality of divine nature. Like, wave-particle duality, the divine particles. And in the name of Chixchulub is the devil's tail, is the whip of the waves that are in the... I've been saying in my other videos as well that if the engineers were consulting the devil for building the bridges, they were consulting the vibrations in the ground in the underworld, the snakes in the underworld that would dictate where to and where not to build a bridge because of natural vibrations in the Earth. Ipso facto, we have these electric currents that are sloshing around the Earth all the time now because of Chixchulub and any other impact or any other thing that's going on. I believe there are periods of time through very many thousands of years that these currents, which are normally just little blips that don't do much in any one location, when it's in what seems to be a more chaotic state, eventually start to come back and line up with each other and start to add on top of each other, and you get these potentially eons later mass extinctions as those waves start getting closer and closer and closer up on each other in the polyrhythm they start getting smaller and things with like smaller gate removed from the continents. And whether it's even just those waves are mechanical and there becomes just like in Interstellar, that wave that's going around the whole planet, you can get mechanical waves where they all start to build up and eventually there is a massive wave of destruction that just goes around the planet. And then they start mixing back up again. The physics is there. Everything is there to explain it and back it up. Reasonably speaking, these are there. When and how they've affected everything is up for question, but in all honesty, my only real question left here is at what point are we in this cycle? Not only is it the devil's tail, but you're also talking about the Ouroboros, the world snake eating its own tail. I believe the myth goes when it lets go of its tail is when there's the end of the earth, or the end of the world, or at least the end of that time or that era. I believe these might be the yugas, or the different eons of the different mystical beliefs or the different religions. Again, where are we in the cycle now? And now to bring this back to how I think it solves the non-avian extinctions. Well, if there was a period of time right after Chixchulub hit the planet, or during it, that a wave culminated around the Earth, and all the electric currents added up, everything touching the surface of the Earth would have died, and the only thing left would be things that were in the air or things that were inside the ground that didn't have this loop that could happen with its body as that wave went through around it. So if you're in, I believe inside the Earth could potentially be the better place to be, depending on what the waveform is and where the waveform cycle is.